Hey, how's it going, friends? It's your girl Ash Coyote, the ever fabulous Coyote, back in suit. How's it going, everyone? I hope you're doing well. So today I got a very special video for you, and I have a very special guest who's going to be joining us. Hey, can you introduce yourself?
Hi Ash Coyote, how's it going? I'm IRL Ash. It is so nice to see you. Look at those, they're little fox nails. I've been relegated to my other channel, Ash IRL, so you can go check me out there if you want to see more of this Ash. If you want to see more of the sassy, fabulous Ash Coyote, though, you're in the right place.
Yes, that's right. I am talking to myself. No, I am not crazy. Yes, I am a coyote, and no, I don't know why I am doing this, but here we are. So we're going to be having a discussion today about fursuits.
So let's start this episode by asking a question. When you first joined the furry fandom, all those years ago, or maybe just recently, did you think that having a fursuit was a requirement to being a furry? So I want you to drop me a comment down in the comment section below and let me know, and maybe we can continue that conversation there. I think it's really important to have this discussion just as a community, as people. When I first found the fandom, I actually did think that I needed a fursuit to be a furry, and I went about trying to make my own. And I know there's a lot of folks out there that kind of have thought the same thing.
Funny how that works, isn't it? You need a fursuit to be a furry. Well, actually, you don't need a fursuit to be a furry, but if you have a fursuit, you become visibly furry. There you go!
Furry is all about your own area of interest, your own area of personal interest. So, what does that mean? The fandom is a super diverse group of individuals that really have a very individualistic nature about them. So when we're talking about fursuits and whether or not they're a requirement, that's just gonna depend on you.
Aside from that, it's pretty much whatever you want to make of it. You know, like you could wear a fursuit on YouTube, or you could be Normie Ash over there, just, I don't know, be normal. But let's kind of talk a little bit about how all these different things add up to fursuits. Why are fursuits so visible in our community? I think Out of Suit Ash will probably tell you something to the effect of, maybe it's because they're from a historical perspective and that they didn't show up for a long time.
Now, as IRL Ash, I would like to say that fursuits are super visible in the fandom because I think they're the most visible representation of what a furry is to somebody who is outside of the fandom. And that is to say that if you're somebody outside of the fandom and you're looking for a furry, you're not looking for somebody just like you. You're looking for somebody who stands out in a crowd. And what stands out more in a crowd than a fursuit?
I think suits are so visible in the community because they make a statement. I mean, like, look at these things. It's a visual representation of your character. It's you being out and loud and proud in some cases.
I think that a lot of folks, whether mistaken or not, tend to project this idea of furries being fursuiters onto the fandom, even though most of us aren't.
Plenty of other ways of expressing your furriness outwards. It's not just wearing fursuits. You could wear animal t-shirts. You could wear a tail. You could have terrible bumper stickers and awful things all over. You could have fox nails like I do. It just depends on how trashy you are. At least according to the statistics that I have seen over the years, less than a quarter of all furries at FurCons own a fursuit. So I do want to preface this by saying that that's at FurCons because that's where those statistics are gathered, because let's be honest, if you have a fursuit, you're probably more likely to attend a FurCon. I mean, it just kind of adds up. You spent, like what, $3,000 on an animal costume? You're probably going to want to show it off.
The fact of the matter is, most furries don't own a fursuit. Most furries are just a part of the community because we like the art, or we have a character, or we just have fun hanging out with strange animal people. So this gets us to our next question. Was it always about fursuits? That is a good question.
Fursuiting as an art form has been around for quite a while. I mean, it really kind of emerged in the 80s and 90s as this little element of the community, and it quickly gained the attention of everybody, including the media, because it was the thing that stood out the most. I mean, you see a giant animal walking around and you're just like, oh, what is that?
I would say suits really took off when we hit the 2000s, and that's kind of as people refined their process, found the ways of making these suits that they liked the best, and were able to now execute that on a larger scale.
Also, it's the evolution of fur. Fur and furries, they go hand in hand. So it wasn't always about being a fursuiter. It wasn't always about fursuit.
What was furry about before people started seeing fursuits kind of as the front page? Furry was about art. Furry was about artists.
In fact, I would say that the fandom is still very, 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 very much about the art at the core. You wouldn't have fursuits without the artists.
It's just that they take second seat now to fursuiters. Fursuiters like me, people who go on YouTube and talk and produce media and everything else. And I mean, to me, that's actually kind of sad in a lot of ways too, because I feel like artists are the soul of our community. Without art, we don't really ever enter into this point in which we're making these characters and costumes in the first place. It definitely has an interesting dynamic to it. So let's talk a little bit about the struggle of the artist.
The average furry artist, like the person who's out there drawing furry art, producing that content, putting it out there, they're less visible these days because a lot of the more performance-oriented types, people who might wear fursuits on YouTube, those people tend to garner the attention. Those people tend to attract the attention of the outside world, and they also tend to attract the attention of people within the community, even though it's the artists that fuel this whole thing forward. It's not just about fursuits, obviously, and it's not just about drawing. It's about something deeper. It's about identity. It's about being yourself.
So I want to bring up something else. Obviously, furry is a natural evolution, a natural progression of everything. So what is the next frontier? I think the next frontier is VR. I think we're going to see a lot of furries coming from the VR space, and I think we've already seen that just in these past couple years. I mean, think about how much VR has exploded during the pandemic.
Will VR replace fursuit? I don't know that anything will ever fully replace fursuit. I mean, I think there are still people who will always wear a fursuit and enjoy it. I do think, though, that VR is going to actually take off pretty hard because VR offers with it something that you don't get in a fursuit. Being a furry in VR, you could really encapsulate your character down to all the nuanced details. How tall are you? Is your character a mouse, so are you like really tiny? Or is your character like a super tall mane wolf, so you're giant and gangly? So it might be a more true representation of self for some people.
Take into consideration all the limitations that a fursuit has. Fursuits have one expression. Fursuits, while being three-dimensional pieces of art, you have to put them on your body. They can be exhausting. They can cause heat exhaustion and heat stroke. They are certainly cumbersome and difficult to see in. Whereas putting on a VR headset, I mean, that's just a really easy experience.
That being said, I don't think anything will ever really replace a furry con. It's nice to interact with people in person.
So the last thing that I really want to talk about in this discussion is kind of a touchy subject. It's probably the most controversial question that I have in this whole piece, and that is, has the visibility of fursuits hurt the furry fandom?
As a fursuiter, I think about this a lot, and the only real answer I have to this question is probably yes, in some ways. The idea, the notion that to be a furry you have to have a fursuit can negatively impact others.
I think that fursuits, as a piece of performance art, are so intricately woven into the furry fandom at this point that you really can't have one without the other. I mean, like I said at the very beginning of this video, when I was a kid, when I was young, I actually thought that to be a furry you had to have a fursuit.
Think about it. Like, what if you're a kid just trying to get into the fandom and you're like, well, in order to be a furry, I need to have a fursuit. And you look up fursuits and you're like, holy crap, fursuits are expensive. These things are like $7,000. Yeah, that's pretty insane.
Is that a barrier of entry now for people who think that, like, oh hey, I want to be a furry, do I have to make a fursuit now?
And it makes it kind of exclusionary almost. What does this actually say about me?
Is owning a fursuit now a status symbol? How does that impact everyone else?
As fursuiters, we are lucky in that sense. That we are able to have this privilege of existing and performing and having fun like this.
I mean, at the end of the day, there's probably more questions to be answered than I have really covered in this video, but I do think, and strongly so, that we as a community have a larger conversation on our hands when we talk about fursuiters, content creators, artists, and everyone else. We are a community at the end of the day. So let's kind of end the discussion here.
Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're not already, and drop me a comment in the comment section below. Let me know if you think that you need a fursuit to be a furry. I'd love to hear about it. Alright, and before we go, IRL Ash, do you want to tell us how to find you?
Thank you for having me on, Ash Coyote. Thank you. It's been so great. Be sure to check out my other channel, Ash Quits Reality, if you want to see more of this Ash, the IRL Ash, the Ash out of suit, the non-coyote Ash.
Isn't she great, folks? Isn't she great? She's so fabulous. I love IRL Ash. Anyways, I hope you all have a fabulous day. Bye-bye. Bye.